Okay, so what we're going to look at today is using Google SketchUp and Sketch just to gain an understanding of what your students have learnt about shape and in particular 3D shape. So for this task, you would do this on the back of, you might have done a week looking at two-dimensional shapes, talking about things like edges, faces, vertices. You might have even looked at area and volume and different things depending on the year level that you're working with. So what we're going to do with this task is we want the kids to produce something using a bit of technology that shows their understanding of these concepts that we've taught in maths throughout the week. So let's have a look at how we can use SketchUp to do that. So this is just Google SketchUp 8 and this is all free. You can jump in and use this straight away. Now SketchUp can be used for many different things, but for this case we're just going to get our students to explain their understanding of a few different shapes. Now the way you could do this is you might give them a bit of a task where you'd like them to build a house or you'd like them to design a city that might have prerequisites of you must have a cylinder, you must have a rectangular prism, you must have a cube, and you need to have at least 20 vertices and 15 faces or so forth. And then the kids would create that on SketchUp, and then we're going to jump into Sketch to show you how we would use our computers to point these out. So creating shapes in SketchUp is very easy. We just use any of the tools across the top here. You can make single shapes, lines, circles. There's really not a lot you can't do with this. It's very simple. We're just going to draw here, for example, a few different shapes, and we use the push-pull tool here to create something that looks like a house with a water tank beside it. If you just bear with me for a moment, I'll put this together. You might spend 10-15 minutes explaining how you do all of this on SketchUp. There's video tutorials of this on the web. So let's put in a triangular roof on this building. And we'll spin it around. And we'll use the good old push-pull tool here. We'll drag our roof out. You can get them to create hexagons, whatever you want to do. I mean, it depends on the year level you're teaching, to be honest. And then you can get into the point about adding doorways and different things into it if you want. Add a little bit more detail to it. This may or may not help you with your maths lesson. And you might need to give that a bit of thought beforehand. Okay, so we've got lots of, your kids could spend a lot more time doing this than I have, but basically you want them to create something like this. Now if we want them to point out a few of the different shapes within this, we can do a few different things. First off, we might give this a bit of a quick paint job so as it actually looks and resembles something like we want it to. So if I go into the paintbrush tool here, I'm going to choose some bricks, brick cladding. Let's just put standard bricks on this wall, spin it around, and this wall here. The other thing I'm going to do is put some roofing on it. And we might just paint the ends of the house. Now I'm just going to cut here and add a few windows and different things to this just to make it a little bit more interesting. That's going to be fine for now. Now if you want to add things into Google SketchUp, you can just download anything to put in a car, through to a ship, through to a tree. So let's have a quick look at what we can add to it here. if we want to get an item, I just go here, type in tree, and you can use this for your maths side of it too. We hit search, and I'm just going to grab the first one there. Download model. And there is my tree. Okay, so the next stage of what we want to do with this is we want to get a nice clean picture here of our building so that we can use it to explain the different points of it. So I want to get a nice shot that I can sort of point out lots of different elements of this picture. So I'm pretty happy with that one, and then I can get a 2D graphic of it, or I could get a 3D model or anything I want, but I just want to make a 2D picture of this. And I just want to save this as shapes, and I'll just save this on the desktop as a JPEG. Here we go. Okay, so the next program we're going to jump into is Sketch. What Sketch allows us to do is it allows us to label everything. Okay, so here we are with Sketch, and see if this works. Alright, we've got our image. I've just dragged that straight into Sketch. Now I could give this a title. I can click in here and call this 3-dimensional shapes, or elements of 3-dimensional shapes. And I'll move that up to the top corner. And then if I zoom this up, I can start pointing out some of these elements here. So let's begin doing that. We'll put some arrows in. And we'll put some text in here. You could probably sit here for quite a bit of time. And we're going to write in some different elements of the picture. I'm going to change my colours around a bit, just for a bit of variation. And this one here is a cylindrical prism. This one here is a triangular prism. And then on the end, for this, you might, if you're not talking about three-dimensional elements, you might change colours and do things like a rectangle for this one here. And let's just move this around here. Instead of calling that a corner, we're going to give it its proper term, and we might then go in with a different colour and talk about edges, faces and vertices. And we could go on here and do faces, vertices. You could even talk about things here like drawing a line from here across to here if you were looking at angles. And we might put another point in here, and we might call this an obtuse angle. Just give that a totally different colour again. that's just one option of what you can do with SketchUp and Sketch. You could use this for a number of different things. You could get them to draw it on paper, take a photo of it if you want it stored in a digital format, and get them to reflect upon that. They might come back and have a look at this later on, and they might build to this picture over time, and as they learn about things from squares into prisms into um, talking about angles, that this picture might become populated over a period of a couple of weeks as their knowledge grows in this area. So there's lots of different ideas there, and we're just going to use that as the basis of our lesson for today. That is all. That is using Google SketchUp and Sketch. Obviously a good amount of planning that suits your own kids' needs, and everything that goes with that is going to give you far more benefit and really cater towards what it is that they need to learn.